Hello guys, my name is Alexander Kulikov. I'm a photographer, and there is a new format for this channel. It's a podcast, and there is the first guest, Andrey Nogovitsyn. Please introduce yourself and explain what.
Which camera? That camera?
That camera.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Andrey Nogovitsyn. I'm a teacher of English actually, but also I'm a photographer. Well, I come from Russia, like all of us.
Yeah.
But at the moment I live in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. Surprised myself why. But this is not about that, this is about photography and cameras and all this stuff. So I hope you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. And first question, what I think many people ask to photographers is why photography? How you start photography? How you start photography? How you? Many people try to many things usually, especially for this generation or new generation. And how I know you take pictures for many years. How you start first time?
Okay. Well, actually, yeah, that's kind of, it's a good question because I've been making pictures and taking pictures, for quite a long time. I remember when I was a child, around like, I guess, 12 years old, maybe a bit earlier, younger, my dad used to take photos himself. He had this Soviet camera, Zenit, which was like a very big and decent one. And he took photographs, and actually he was a truck driver himself, but he was a very good photographer because we have a lot of family photographs and they're like really good. They're not just, like sit there and do this. They're like kind of very live pictures of us, like doing all sorts of family things that usually family does. And I helped him, it was like back in the 80s, so I helped him to develop and then to print them, and we would close my bedroom actually because our flat was very small. We would close just like here with all this kind of blankets and everything, and develop and then print and everything. That was actually one thing that my father taught me. Wow, thank you for reminding me this.
I think you had to do all this thing because it was pre-digital era.
Absolutely, it was in the 80s. I'm 50 years old. Thank you very much. And it was in the 80s. I went to school in 1981, so I guess I'm talking here about 1986, 87, I guess. And it was like the Soviet time. I was living in Yakutsk. That is a small town in the far east of Russia, northeast of Russia, Yakutia. Google it. It's a beautiful place. If you ever have a chance, come and visit us because it's beautiful. It's very cold, but very beautiful.
I can recommend it too because I really want to visit this city at some point of my life. I really want it.
Yeah, you should hurry because just off topic. When I was a child, we were allowed to stay home and not to go to school only when it was minus 52 Celsius. And obviously, when it was minus 52, 53, we listened to the radio and they said la, kids can stay home. And we're like, hooray! So you went outside and played. But the climate is changing, so 50 now, it's a kind of a very rare thing. Although it depends on the year, of course.
In my childhood, it was minus 25.
Minus 25 is nothing for us. It's very warm, actually.
But I remember this feeling when you turn on a radio and waiting, but children cannot go to the school because it's minus 25.
Where did you live?
Furmanov, it's very small. It's a really town, not city, in Ivanskaya Oblast, but it's like I think it was one of poorest places in Russia, but for now maybe it's changed, but I'm not sure. I'm still really like this place because my parents were.
I love Yakutia too. Miss it very much.
So, how you start photography not as a kid? When you start to do it more, for yourself, and I mean, not like sometimes in continuous.
Well, in 2002 I moved to Yakut. Oh, I'm sorry, I moved to Moscow. I moved to Moscow from Yakutsk, and there was a time when I was given a digital camera. I think it was Nikon.
It's not important because it will be depend who will say this word.
Okay, I've never known. Okay, it doesn't matter. I was given a camera. Somebody gave me a camera. I don't remember who, but it was a digital camera, and I played with that, and it was fun. But I didn't like it very much because like you just push the button like endlessly. And I remember I used it only once when my friends and we went to India for a holiday. And after I had come back, a friend of mine in Moscow, there was a club called Solyanka, a very famous place. Sasha Grishin, he sold me Leica, but not like Leica. He sold me a Leica Minilux Zoom, which is still a good camera, but I knew nothing about photography at the time. I had already forgotten everything that my father had taught me, and it was for me just like the brand Leica. Oh my God, yeah! It was a film camera, and it was in early 2000, like 2007 maybe, 2006, and everything was cheap. Films were cheap. Cheaper. No, they were cheap actually. Because I remember, and then I started actually taking pictures with this camera, and I used it for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. I still like it. It's a little heavy and a little bit slow, but it's a very good point and shoot camera. I had also a flash, which made it even better because I partied a lot, and I drank a lot. So after midnight, I would jump into the dance floor with my camera, and the camera actually served me very, very well until it had broke.
And I think it was flash from Leica as well.
Yeah, Leica flash.
Yeah, usually they work together very well.
Yeah, they do. So if you ever think of starting photography and you get hold of this camera, Leica Minilux, there's Leica Minilux and Leica Minilux Zoom. I had Zoom with a flash. Well, you can buy it. Just keep in your mind that it will break down
at some point. Yeah, like many point and shoot cameras. Yeah. What you told that mostly you took pictures on the parties, but did you think any time in your life why you decide to take pictures on the parties? I mean, many people who had camera at some point started to try fashion, portraits, still life, landscapes, but I know your name, I think, for 10 years before because many people said, can I tell it Noga?
Yeah,
it's like
sure.
your nickname.
Nickname, yeah. Everybody calls me Noga. Hi.
Yeah. And many people, when I just moved in Moscow, it was 15 years ago. Somebody told me there is Noga with point and shoot camera on each party.
Ah, seriously?
Everywhere. Yeah, and why parties?
Well, it's an easy question because I loved to party. I mean, when I moved, Yakutsk is a very small town. It's like 340,000 people. And we partied there too, but it was, usually home parties, and then we didn't have much money, and there were not so many places to go to. So it was always drinking outside, running away from police, or drinking at home when your parents were in dacha. And when I moved to Moscow, I partied there was no tomorrow. Seriously, I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning until around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening. And then I went to bars, and then we went to clubs. I mean, like, it was all about clubs at the time. And it was like work from Monday to, well, not from Monday, from Tuesday, Wednesday until Saturday. Every day, different places, different clubs. I just loved it so much, and it was really good time to go clubbing in Moscow, because there were so many different places. They were so good. Music was great. People were fantastic. And I made a lot of friends, and obviously when I had a camera, I just kind of shoot what I saw. It wasn't that I went particularly to take pictures of people clubbing. No, I was just there with a camera, that's it.
I think it was like golden era of club culture in Moscow.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
Solyanka,
Simachov, Strelka, what else, like...
I'm not
Gazdolder, yeah.
I don't know a lot about it, but I understand what it was really gold era, and it was first closed to Solyanka.
Yeah, I think it closed like in 2014, maybe 15.
I was in Moscow this year.
Then Simachov, the original place, then they moved, but it was already not the original one. And then generally kind of clubbing went down because young people are about different things.
So I know that you shoot a lot of color film, but how do you choose what film to take with you? I mean, between especially stock, between black and white and color, because I know that you shoot more color, but sometimes choose to take with you black and white. How you, for me, because I asked you about it because it's so difficult to usual for me to understand what I want, and sometimes you just go to some came to some place and think, oh, I had to take color film or black and white, but it's really frustrating to choose between color, black and white, especially here, for example, in Argentina, a lot of colors outside, but it's still very great light for black and white, and very contrasty sometimes with beautiful long shadows. How do you choose?
Actually, despite the fact that my father taught me quite a lot of things, like mostly technical stuff, I can't say that I studied photography and I learned anything from, like somebody. I just learned everything myself, kind of. And right now, like, I'm downloading all my photographs onto the cloud, and I'm going through some of my films, and I see that I was not like a very good photographer. I am a good photographer, and maybe I was a good photographer back then because I took lots of pictures, and out of, I don't know, like 20 pictures, there were maybe 2 or 3 one that, like accidentally got right. But what about colors? I like both. Like, actually, I like landscapes a lot, and architecture, and I don't like this kind of a sort of bright chemical colors. I prefer kind of quiet and soft. And at the same time, I really like black and white because I also like this contrast, especially pictures, silhouettes, and sort of shapes and that kind of stuff, like the composition, so that you don't distract to the colors, but it's kind of easier to show what you want to show in a black and white picture, rather than in the color. But when you go partying, I mean, it was this kind of very bright time, and people dressed very brightly, and I guess I wanted to show that somehow subconsciously. Because when you go through all those pictures, they are very bright, they're very colorful, and then portrait is the best, and with the flashlight, this skin is perfect, and it's just beautiful.
Have you cut this words for his best made video and take Kodak?
Yeah, Portrait is my favorite film, or T-Max, because I like this contrast and like black and white very, very much.
So, what cameras do you use now and why? Mostly.
Okay. Well, my first camera, when I started like taking pictures, that was Leica. And I didn't know, and I still don't know much about technical part of cameras, and I just bought that because it was Leica. But then at some point, one of my friends again offered me Contax, and I knew nothing about Contax at the time. And my first Contax was G1, and it was a wonderful camera. It's like very, very good. I had like a set of lenses, and took it everywhere with me when I traveled, and most of my pictures were shot by that camera. But then again, like they have this tendency of breaking down, and then there's only when I traveled a lot, I found 3 places in the world where you can fix Contax cameras, like fix them. It's one in Japan, in Nagoya. There are like 2 guys, old guys, who are actually ex-Contax workers, and they have this huge stock of spare parts. Yeah, and they have a big waiting list. I mean, like you can give your camera to fix there, but it's gonna take a year maybe to wait until they get their hands on your camera. Then there's one in London, Sandine camera, I think it's called, but it's not a very good one. I fixed my one of my Contax cameras, actually this one, Contax T2. It's a very, very good one. Actually, I love it. And they fixed it there, but it didn't work still very well. So I found another one in New York, also with some old Japanese guy. I forgot the name, and they fixed it right. So it's like, I love these cameras because most of my cameras are Contax, like this one, Contax T2. When I first bought it, it wasn't that expensive as it is now. So I've had this particular camera since 2015, and since then I have fixed it twice. Now it's also kind of a, I'm afraid it's on its last, how to say, like, oh shit.
Last years?
No. I'm a teacher of English, actually, and there is an idiom on its last leg, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's dying, I guess. But then Sasha is a very good...
I hope it will work.
Yeah, he's saying that there is some humid and...
a little bit of rust, and I try to clean it.
So I hope it will last a bit longer. Then my main camera is this one. It's also a Contax.
Yeah, why this one? Because it's so huge.
A friend of mine, Vanya Skorikov, a photographer from Moscow, he told me that he had this camera. No, he told me that he had a very beautiful camera. First of all, he didn't tell me that it was a good camera or anything. He told me that it was a very beautiful camera. And actually, it is very beautiful. And then it turned out that it was Contax N1. At the time, it was very, very cheap, which I like, of course.
I think it's still cheaper if you compare with G or T series.
Absolutely, yes. And I like it because it's a little heavy, but when you go traveling and you're not afraid of holding your camera in the street, because here in Buenos Aires you have to be very careful. It's a good camera. I mean, it's very practical, it's very functional, it's got lots of different functions which I don't know most of them. I just push the button. And then I also like that it's got zoom because I had this G1 with lots of different lenses, and it's kind of not very comfortable, like change lenses all the time.
Especially if you go somewhere with a lot of dust.
Yeah.
Like I was on Coast Ocean now, and it's really windy and everywhere sand.
Yeah, sand is the worst. Then I also have I have recently bought this one. It's Kyocera Patio. It's a really good camera, actually. It's a very simple one. I bought it like for $70 here in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. And it's also point and shoot, and it's very simple. It doesn't have a focus. It's fixed focus, I think like 1.5 meters and to the infinity. Something like that. And it's perfect. You just walk around the street and you don't have to think, like about the focus. You just push the button and it's great.
I think one one thing what you can say about this camera, because it without autofocus, it's very quick.
Yeah, it is very quick, yes. And for street photography, this is the perfect one. The only thing is that the lens, I guess, is plastic. Well, lens...
No, it's from glass, because good plastic started to produce in 2000.
Okay.
It was cheaper to make from the glass.
Okay, Sasha knows everything. But this is Kyocera, and Kyocera is the same as Contax, actually, Kyoto Ceramic, if you know the history of the company, and they produced several brands. I mean, like, they produced several cameras under several brands, which is Kyocera, Contax, and Yashica. They're all were manufactured by one corporation from Japan. Unfortunately, they shut down, motherfuckers. So everything that you can get now is on second hand, and will eventually break down.
No, I think for now, I think it's very good time for conservate many things. I mean, for now you can buy very good and very quality 3D printer, very accurate to make new spare parts. You can buy special CNC for work with aluminium, for example, or something like this. And when this cameras was made, it was really some like space science, very expensive. But for now, you can really buy it just on AliExpress. Okay. Take some time for understand how it's work. And
that could be a good career choice, to ensure your senior years.
Yeah, it's like for now, it's there is a project, Camera Rescue. It's based in Finland, and they have school for people who want to understand how to fix cameras, and they bought all warehouse with spare parts what they can find in the world. It's like I will put link to the video excursion in their warehouse. It's huge. It's like, I think, I don't know, thousands of thousands spare parts for each cameras what they can find. It's so big, and I'm really like what guys do and I'm really like to visit them at some point.
I think you should go for it, actually. Yeah. Because I know the guy from Moscow. He is now in Bali, and he fixed. This is like number like Nagoya, London, New York, and Moscow. I mean, he lived in Moscow, and he could repair all my Contax G that I had, like 2 of them. They broke down, so I sold them to him, and he repaired them for himself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like in Camera Rescue what we create like project about to make warehouse with all spare parts, and how I know they try to create a 3D model database of spare parts, because it's really cool.
That's the only option, I guess, right now, because nothing is being produced at the moment. Yeah.
So,
talking about cameras, I have also this small one, but I have never tried it because it's APS?
APX.
Yeah, and it's like a very specific format of films.
It was very modern.
Very modern at the time. I want to try it, but it's very difficult to find the films. And it's also a Contax, which I really like. And then I have another camera here. This one is medium format, right? It's Pentacon. It's an East German thing, I guess, from 1960s. One of my friends sold it to me back in Moscow, and it's got a very good lens, Carl Zeiss, which is perfect for portraits. And it's really heavy, so I don't try, although My friends always laugh at me because like every time when we went traveling, I would take, like 3 cameras with me, and they would be like, okay. Yeah. And the only down thing that it's quite heavy, but it's really, really good. And obviously this is not for anything like, quick. It's just you have to.
It can be for something quick, but it will be much more harder to work with.
Just because it's a little heavy, and then my eyesight isn't very good, and it doesn't have autofocus, obviously. So I have to focus myself, which I'm not very good at, but when I get it, it's great.
Yeah, and focus not very quick because you have to rotate.
Yeah. So these are my cameras, but then again, I think that a good camera is a very good thing, obviously, of course. But I used to have this Contax T3, which is like very, very small, very sharp, very quick, one of the best, but it's also very fragile, so it broke down. But I truly believe that if you are good at taking pictures, and if you want to take pictures, it isn't very important what kind of cameras you have, because like you can have like perfect, best, the most expensive limited edition Leica, but if you don't see the picture, you just don't see the picture. And then you can have this plastic piece of crap, and then you will have like a masterpiece. So it's all about what you see rather than what you take pictures.
I think a good camera just help you a little bit better to be in process.
Yeah, like a bit widens your technical possibility if there isn't much light, for instance, or I don't know, you need to make it, I don't know, whatever you want.
And usually cameras from the like professional segment looks like how explain it. It's like push you to take pictures on cameras. I don't know. For example, when I decided at some point to buy a Leica because it looks so nice. I like this design, and it just like every time when I see it on the shelf, on the table, it's like tell me, give me and go away.
I totally
outside.
agree with you. Mm-hmm. It's like if you have a good camera, you want to use it, you want to see what it's capable of, and pushes you a little bit further than just simple camera. But then again, I truly believe that if you're limited in your kind of somehow, you push yourself even further because you want to get out of those limits, and it's this is where you want to be, I guess.
And I think it's sometimes to give very strong limits, it's very good lesson.
Mm-hmm, that's true, yeah.
Like, for example, you told about camera without autofocus, without autofocus, and you have this limit. It's for many people, it's like how to use cameras without autofocus and without manual focus because it's just fixed. But it's like good, all of these things, it's like good lessons for improve your skills.
Totally agree with you, yes.
So you have your books.
Yes.
And of course I want to talk more about your bigger one. Okay. How it just happened. Yes. Because it's huge, and I want to what you translate name of this book because I really like this name.
Yeah. Well, I'm not like it's kind of funny that I never call myself a photographer because I've never learned to be a photographer, and I don't earn that much money as a photographer. I'm a teacher of English, and if you want to learn English. Yeah, but photography. Yes, I started taking pictures because I just loved it. I had a camera. Films were not very expensive, and my lessons allowed me to spend quite a lot of money on this photography thing. And this is my first album that I made for my friends. It's called Junga, I Love You. So among my friends there was a joke about Junga. And I don't remember which year it was, but I made really good friends back in Moscow, where I lived 20 years. I love my friends, and back in 2010 maybe I decided for my birthday, instead of waiting for a present, to make a present for them. So I had already taken quite a lot of photographs, and again, parties, and I don't know how to show them. Yeah, they're just kind of simple photographs of all the things that I'd been taking at the time. Friends, parties, again, Moscow. And then at the birthday party, I just presented this to my friends. It was one of my best birthdays. I was living in Stalin skyscraper on Krasnaya Varota, door number 6, the 6th floor, flat 66. And quite a big flat, like 2 bedrooms, no, 1 bedroom and 1 living room, like around 70 square meters maybe, and it was packed with people. It was like crowds of people, like everybody smoked, everybody drank, and it was like one of the best birthday parties ever. And I was very, very happy that I had something to thank my friends for a wonderful present that they had given me. I had a scooter which was stolen, and then they presented me a scooter for my birthday. And I was absolutely thrilled to get such a huge, generous present at the time, and I was very happy that I could thank them with this book. I didn't know anything about the presents they were going to make, so I was really, really grateful. So this book is actually, although it is very, very small, it's one of the dearest things that I have in my life, besides my daughter, of course.
How many books you made first time?
It was like 100. 100, and I gave them all away at the birthday party. There were like around 100 people, I guess.
Yeah, 70 square meters and 100 people, it's enough. Yeah.
Then this photo album is about Emma. There was a club called Emma back in Moscow again. For one summer, there was in some boulevard some institute or factory which was closed, and on the territory of this factory, medical factory, that's why they made this kind of a thing like that symbolizes a pill. Some guys opened a really nice place just for one summer. And I went there with a camera. At the time I had Canon, don't remember which one. It was also a film camera. It focused with your pupil.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
It's EOS 5, EOS 3.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's like this like very classical body kit.
Yeah. Like it looks like digital.
Yeah. But without. And the thing that always broke was this little latch when you close the back cover. It broke, and but it was connected to the camera. So when it clicked, the camera switched on. If it didn't click, then the camera didn't work. And at some point there was RSU 14. Place. Does it?
Yeah.
Wow. So I fixed it there. The guys actually used this 3D printer or something. They made this part of the camera and installed it there. So I spent like one summer and autumn in that place. It was a very nice place, good music, great people, a lot of fun. And I made this this book with a friend of mine, a designer, Masha Chelayans, because it's very beautiful thing. It has this, we didn't cut it, then it has this red thread and this pink paper, black and white photographs on pink, look beautiful. And then in the middle we have this color pictures, and I love this album actually very much personally. There are just 50 copies, and I'm a very bad seller. I don't think that we have sold all of them. I want to tell you a story about this book because this is a very special book actually, and it's a very funny story, but I have never done anything like this since, and I definitely never did anything before. So as I have already told you, I'm a teacher of English, and I had a student who was finishing her school, and I was preparing her for her exam, I think, English exam. And at some point, she saw all the photographs on my wall, and she was like, asked me a question like if I was a teacher. Oh, I'm sorry, if I was a photographer. If I was a photographer, and I was like, yeah, I'm a photographer. And then she was like, would you like to take a picture of us and make a book? This, whatever it's called. Yeah, graduation book. And I was like, at the time, I said yes to everything. And I was like, yes, okay. So they invited me to their school somewhere in the city center in Moscow. And there were like about maybe, I don't know, it wasn't a very big class, 12 people, maybe 12 kids. I mean, like teenagers. And I took pictures like in their school. We went for a walk in a park nearby. One of the guys played ukulele, and we had a very good time. And then they invited me to their graduation party with a concert and lots of tears and, you know, teachers saying goodbye and things like that before the exams. And then I completely forgot about them, like totally. And then at some point, I remember it was Thursday. I was having a lesson, and then I received a text message. Andrey, hi, this is Tanya's mother. What about our books? We're having this final party on Saturday. And I'm like, shit, to myself. I hadn't even developed the films yet. And I was like, sure, yeah. The book is, is being printed, and as soon as it's ready, I'll let you know. I texted back, and then I'm like, fuck! So I cancel all my lessons. I ran to Photolab, and like this fast development and fast scan, and then they paid me around like not much, a bit more than $1,000. And while the films were being developed, I ran into the bar Enthusiast, where all of my friends used to hang out, and I was like, I need a designer, is anybody a designer here? And there's a guy, Matvey Korobka, who at the time was working as a chef in that bar. He's like, well, I used to be a designer. And I'm like, come on, you must help me, but I don't do that anymore. Come on, this one's gonna be like, you're back. Coming back to the roots. I'm gonna pay, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, maybe I could do that. So I was like, thank you. So I run back, get these scans, run home, like choose the photographs, spend like around 3 hours, like lots of pictures. And then I send everything to Matvey, and then while he was, putting all together this book, I started looking for a printing house, and again, I called everybody. I love Moscow. It's 9 o'clock in the evening, and everything is closed, and you're looking for a printing house, and you're like, I need a printing house, and then somebody's like, yeah, I work with printing houses, actually, I have my own, or something like that, like, can we do that, very, very fast? I'm like, how fast? Well, I'll get the, whatever it's called, it's in Russian, design. Yeah, I'll get the design, in the morning, I guess. I'll get the design, in a couple of hours. I'm like, come on, I cannot go there, at night and start working. I'm like, will it be ready, tomorrow by morning? I'm like, yeah, it will be ready in the morning. So it's like, Matvey finishes work, I, double check it, he finishes it, and then, I send the design to my friend, I forgot her name, what a good friend I am. Yeah. Nina, her name is Nina. And then, I sent this design at about 9 o'clock and run to, while the book was being printed, I received a phone call from this printing house, and they're asking me, by the way, do you need any signs? Anything to write on here, Moscow school number something, and I'm like, I don't remember the school number. And it was too late to call them and ask them the school number, because they believed that the book was ready. And I was like, no, don't do anything, just blank. I'm like, okay. So I run to Begovaya metro station, and pick up the books at about 1 o'clock, run back home, and the parent, the father of this girl, her name is Tanya Voronova. After school, she worked as a flight attendant for Aeroflot for some time, with her beautiful English that she learned from me. And then, anyway, it was I pick up the books, I run home, and then this father comes and go downstairs, and with this bored face, yeah, here you go, thank you very much. And he's looks at the book and is but there's nothing, no Moscow, no year, no names, nothing. And I'm like, well, that's the idea. Give your kids some pens and pencils and they will draw it themselves. That's the design. And I'm like, oh, seriously? Oh, how interesting. It's crazy. Anyway, I'd spent all the money that they paid me, obviously, and I paid double price for, like fasting
Faster.
Yeah, to make it faster. And I remember that I got only out of this 40,000 rubles, 300 was my kind of salary because I'd spent for films, I'd spent for design and printing house and everything, taxi. So, and here's the book, and this is the class that finished one of that Moscow schools, and this is the bridge near the Gorky Park. Their school is there, and that is the girl who I taught English, actually. And the book is very, very simple. And then I was like, whew. And then the same year, maybe a month or two later, I went to this music festival called Outline in Moscow too, and at about 2 o'clock early in the morning, some drunk crowd of teenagers, they jump on me and it's like, Andrey Nikolaevich, hello, hi, and I'm like, who the hell are you? Because I was sober, absolutely. I'm like, well, we are those kids you made the photo album for us. I'm like, hi. And I was like, do you know the story behind? So I told them the story, seriously? Wow, we thought that it was your design and it was the best book because usually these kind of books, they have all this, school theme, this blackboards, autumn leaves, globuses and everything, but this
golden name.
Golden name, etc. And they said that it was really good book because they wrote down their phone numbers, all these things that they usually do. So that's the story about this book. And I like this picture especially. I think it's very symbolic, these young people are walking toward the bridge to cross the bridge and step into this adult world. I hope they're doing fine. It was 2016, 17 maybe, so it was 7 years ago. So right now they're around their 26, 20, 24, something like that, yeah.
Last one.
Yes. So, this is my latest book. This is the most important book because it is the biggest one, more than 500 pages. And the story is that in 2022, around November or December, a friend of mine approached me and offered me this project together with Svetnoy, which has this art space, and they wanted some project to launch their project of this art space thing. And I was really surprised when they came to me with this idea, and really honored because there are so many different wonderful photographers, and somehow they decided to work with me, and I really, really appreciate it. Actually, I still don't believe that. Every time when I look at it, you get used to things. Yeah, I have a book, blah blah blah. But then you start thinking about this, and I'm like, whoa, this is so cool because I am this amateur photographer actually. Still, well, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys, really.
Please translate the name, because I'm so like his name.
Just to finish this thank you thing with the guys, thank you, Maxim, Dima, Toля, and Zhenya. Thank you very much. Thank you, Naila, Nadia. It's a really big work. There are so many people involved in this. Anyway, the name of the book is in Russian. It says "Фотографии, которые мы никогда не увидим," which you can translate as the photographs that we will never see. And the idea behind is that I took so many photographs, literally, every time when I went out, I would take my camera and I would take pictures all the time, and everybody would be like, Andrey, where are the photographs? You're taking so many photographs, and we don't see them. And every time when I would pick up my camera, they would be like, oh my God, again, another photograph that we will never see. So that's why the name of the album is The Photographs That You Will Never See, because here are the photographs that my friends didn't see before. And it's it's a book about Moscow because I lived there. It's about my friends because they're my friends. About places where we partied, and most importantly, it's about my daughter because throughout the book there are like several pictures of my daughter on this pink paper because she's a beautiful girl and her favorite color was pink. There are photographs of my daughter from the time when she was a little girl until actually she finished school in 2022, I think. So here she is all grown up. Her name is Sayara. Right now she is living in Moscow because she wants to be independent from me. And I really miss her. Anyway, so for me personally, this is the book about my daughter because, like, you know, parties, 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 but this is about the time when my daughter was growing up while I was, through all this time. And then there are, of course, all these photographs of my friends too, in different places, in different clubs, and home parties, and concerts, and everything that we did together, and wonderful time that we had before.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Artyom. He is from this music band Kazus Koma.
So I really like how contrast pages with your daughter and with light blue. Rose and light blue.
Yeah, absolutely. It is beautiful. And this is, it was a very big work. We worked like almost 6 months on it. And I was already here. And I spent first 6 months of my life in Buenos Aires, like first half of the day teaching lessons, giving lessons, English lessons, and then second half of the day, every day, I would be online on call with Dima and Todd in Berlin. We were like putting this book together, and the guys are really cool because, like, if it wasn't for them, the album would be just, you know, some photographs of just only my friends. But Dima, he is a photographer himself and wonderful art director. He was like, let me explain how the book works. We have a narrative, we have a story to tell. Okay. Yeah, so it is a wonderful book. I'm really amazed that I have it. It's beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I have one in Moscow, but never seen it before because it's in Moscow, and
it is quite heavy, actually.
And finally, I
yes.
to take a look at this. So I wanted to talk with you about not photography, but about your subject of interest. I mean,
hobbies. Hobbies.
I don't know. It's not like hobbies, I think, because cycling. Cycling. How I know, it can be hobby, but I know that you like old cars as well. And can you talk about these two parts of your life?
Okay. Yes, of course. Yeah, I like cycling, and I was in back in Moscow again in around 2013. I bought my first bicycle. It was Bianchi road bicycle, very light, very beautiful. And then even earlier, why 13? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I have this bicycle. I still have it. It's here with me in Buenos Aires. And in 2012, I actually cycled from Lisbon in Portugal to Helsinki in Finland. It was a beautiful time. I spent like about 42 days cycling alone. If you have a chance, if you're in Europe, you have a bicycle time and a bit of money, you should do it because it was expensive, but not very expensive because I stayed in cheapest places. I ate like simple food. and stayed with my friends if I had a chance. And it was really great. And of course, I had my camera with me, and I came back from that trip like with 40 films, 40 rolls. Actually, when I came with this bag of rolls to this lab and put them out, everybody was like, whoa. And then they gave me the price of like 40,000 rubles, and it was the price of the rent back at the time. And I was like, shit.
So much.
So much, yes. And that was the moment, actually, when I asked myself why I am doing this. I mean, I'm doing it just for fun, or I'm doing it, like I'm doing it. And I told myself, yes, I want to do it not because I just have a camera, but because I want to be a photographer.
With some purpose.
Yes, yeah. Then I cycled like with my friends. We had this, we were lucky enough to cycle in Japan, a friend of mine, from Tokyo to Osaka. We cycled in Spain, in Scotland. It's a beautiful time. And here I'm also thinking of cycling, maybe somewhere down. They have these beautiful routes somewhere in
Patagonia?
Yeah, but maybe next year sometime.
Did you think to make a project about it?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, but then again, like cycling is like this film thing. I had a bicycle, I had time, some money, and I was like, let's do it. I mean, not let's do it, like I want to do it, and I did it. And it's kind of funny because whatever I do, actually, I never go too much into details. So if you ask me questions about my cameras and all this focus, aperture, and etc., I'll be like, yeah, Sasha knows everything. I know nothing. I just push the button. I know ISO. Of course, I'm joking. I know a bit, but I don't go too much into this detail. Technical stuff. And then when everybody's, like usually when I tell the story that I cycled a lot, people start asking questions about bicycle and spare parts, and I'm like, yes. Yeah.
So, what bicycle for you in your life? It's how bigger this part? How big is this part?
It is actually a big part of my life because, like, I cycle here. I don't travel by metro or taxi because Buenos Aires is a beautiful city for cycling. We've got lanes, and then the city is flat, no hills, so it's very, very good. And this Bianchi bicycle, it's like old shoes. I sit on it, it's just like part of my body. It's really cool.
Yeah, and second one, what you like is old cars?
Yes, but my father used to be, he was a driver, and unfortunately, I was never very close to him, but that's a different story. It's kind of funny that I just today realized, because I used to complain to my friends, oh my God, like my father and I, we were never close. And I always complained and I, blamed my father for all the trauma and problems that I have in my life just because of my dad. But then today I realized that actually he taught me photography. This the biggest part of my life is because of him. Thank you very much for reminding me this. Seriously, it's so cool. And he was a driver anyway, and it's kind of funny that you always focus on negative thing, and you never focus on the positive. Because I was always focused on the fact that he was a driver and he never taught me to drive a car.
I think all people focus on negative. It's like if you take a look to some place reviews, if you will see a lot of negatives, but very rare people write positive reviews.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
Especially us Russians.
No, I think it's just because if everything it's okay, it was okay. If it was negative, you want to push this negative everywhere where you can.
So anyway, I don't drive. I don't know. I mean, theoretically, I know how to drive.
It's okay.
Yeah, but practically I don't. But the thing is that when I finished school, English wasn't like my choice, my first choice of profession. I wanted to be a car designer. I wanted to be a car designer, and then I applied actually for some design school back in Vladivostok. I was living in Yakutsk, and at the time, to avoid not to go to the army, you had to go somewhere. You had to go to university. Yeah. So I applied for these foreign languages because I spoke English a little bit, and then applied for that institute in Vladivostok for design. But my mom, it was like 1991, 1992. She was there. My parents are very simple people, never earned too much, and they were like, we don't have money. And it was the 90s in Russia. Like, you know, the country collapsed. Nobody had anything. And she was like, you can go, of course, but we don't have anything. Like, we don't have any money to support you. And I passed some exams for this design thing. But then this final exam in both the universities was on the same day, this Russian literature composition thing, here writing. And I chose English because, yeah.
It's more practical.
Well, yeah. But my love to cars is still like with me, and I love cars because cars, they are not just means of transport, it's like sculpture. It's like sculpture in motion. And I have this Instagram account separate from my main one, devoted to cars, because and not just cars, but dented, scratched, broken, because beauty is in imperfection, I guess.
So, what's your plan in photography to future? I understand what you can explain this plan, but if you can imagine what you want to do with your photography for example, next 10 years.
Yeah, in general. Well, first of all, I would love to earn some money on it.
Everybody wants it.
Everybody does, yeah. But apart from that, I have a lot of photographs still that haven't been published. And the guy that I mentioned, Artyom from Kazaskoma band, I traveled with them. I was on tour with them in the Urals. And I was thinking of making maybe an album there. Then I also thought of, like, obviously it's kind of, I like this material thing, that books, photo albums, they're, because you want to have something physical in your hand, And I was thinking of like another photo album, maybe like landscapes, because I love this landscapes, horizon, etc. But I don't want to like look back what I have already done and taken pictures of, but I want to look forward to. And right now I'm living in Buenos Aires, just like Alex, and it's a very interesting period of our lives. Yes, so many questions, so few answers, and right now I'm living in quite a big apartment, and people that are living with me, they're always changing, and actually that is another photo project, because like I'm taking pictures of all these people that I'm living with, sharing my flat with, and I am quite good at making portraits, so it's obviously all about people. And then I also want to kind of well, as I have already told you, like to go cycling and explore the country, nature, and people here in Argentina. Unfortunately, I have very few local friends so far, but I hope I will meet more, because the country is beautiful, people are great, and they're very interesting. Their lives, they themselves and their lives are totally different from what we have in Russia, and it's all very unique and worth spending time and attention to this.
Can you say what you not make project, you just find it in around your life? Because you said what you share apartment and start, how I know, you start to take pictures of people around you. It's like you didn't make this project, you just find it around you.
Yeah.
You just catch it from the life.
I guess one of the things why I always hesitate to call myself a photographer is this part of photography, because photography is not just about a beautiful picture, composition, colors, etc.
Curious.
It's curiosity, and of course, it's like it's a story. You tell a story through the image, through an image, and I have always been quite chaotic in what I take.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like what pictures I take, it's just like quite random, and because I like everything, I like everybody, and I'm a Gemini by my star sign. It's not that I believe in star signs, but anyway, yeah, I'm like very open and sociable, and I have interests like scattered all over the place, and being this kind of a person, it's always kind of a bit of a struggle to put together a storyline, and this is what I want to learn, by the way, and after having learned that, I think it will be easier for me to kind of navigate my creative activity through my life. But it will always be people, because people are always very interesting, and landscapes, nature.
So we have 5 minutes more.
Okay.
And what you want to say at finish of this podcast? Maybe to people who will watch this video, maybe just for younger photographers. I don't know, just anything what you want to say.
I think. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor. I'm absolutely serious. Because it's always really cool, like to be heard. And another thing is that photography, if you are interested in photography, like don't hesitate and go for it. It doesn't matter what kind of camera you have. It doesn't matter if you studied or didn't study, like, because we are all unique people, and despite the fact that we take like kind of same picture, I mean, like we are looking at the same things, kind of one thing, but from a different angle, from a different perspective. And that perspective at that angle is unique because we are unique people. And some people may say that everything has already been made, and like it's I believe that there is like more to this, and if you are aspiring new young photographer, then just go for it, and good luck, because it's a beautiful adventure, it's a wonderful life, it's always really good to me personally, actually for me personally, like when I look back at my photographs, it's really great to watch, to see the pictures, because I really like film photography, because it is expensive. Every time you push the button, you think twice. Is it worth it or not worth it? It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. Because if you have some thousand digital photos, it's not very useful.
Yeah, that's true. So it's a wonderful adventure, and like I wish you all the best.
So, thanks for watching.
Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, Instagram, whatever, I mean, like
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So, yeah. So guys, bye-bye.
Yeah. Ciao, suerte, hasta luego. Ciao.